The Nightbeat starts right now.
Sí se puede, sí se puede, sí se puede, sí se puede.
The League of United Latin American Citizens is once again protesting Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton over what they say are his efforts to keep Latinos from voting. This comes after Paxton sued Bexar and Travis counties over voter registration efforts this week. Our Devin Karp was there this morning to see what they have in store for the future.
No justice, no peace.
This isn't the first time LULAC has protested in front of the Attorney General's office in San Antonio, and organizers today tell me it won't be the last.
Well, this was kind of like an impromptu thing because we just had to fight back.
LULAC started their protests 2 weeks ago when members of Ken Paxton's office raided the homes of several Democrats and LULAC members as part of what he says is an ongoing election integrity investigation, including 87-year-old Lydia Martinez, who helps eligible seniors register to vote.
I don't want this happening to anybody else. You know, they're trying to stop us from registering voters and helping, especially the seniors. If I don't go out there, and if their voter registration is expired, some of them are in wheelchairs. They don't have a way to be going to the elections office and getting them.
Paxton has said in a statement that we are completely committed to protecting the security of the ballot box and the integrity of every legal vote. Local LULAC organizers say their national leadership team is working right now to file a complaint against Paxton with the Department of Justice and disapprove of the voter registration lawsuit in Bexar County, where county commissioners voted 3-2 to move forward with a company that would help send out voter registration forms, something Paxton claims could land in the hands of immigrants or felons who cannot vote, saying, quote, "This program is completely unlawful and potentially invites election fraud. It is a crime to register to vote if you are ineligible."
We are so proud of our county commissioners because they have taken a stand, even though they're being sued, but they have been taking a stand because they know that we are right.
The group says it will continue to protest the Attorney General's actions far into the future because, they say, these efforts have already led to more unregistered Latino voters calling in and asking questions.
We want everybody to have the same opportunity regardless of political affiliation, but we also want a seat at the table.
I'm Devin Karp, KSAT 12 News.
An update tonight. The mother of the suspected shooter accused of killing 4 people at a high school in Georgia report that she called a high school counselor with a warning before the attack. Reports say that the mother called the school at 9:50 on the morning of last Wednesday's attack. She described an extreme emergency involving her 14-year-old son, the alleged shooter. 20 minutes later, the teen allegedly opened fire inside the Appalachia High School outside of Atlanta. His sister confirmed the call to the school. 2 teachers and 2 students were killed, 9 other people suffering injuries during that shooting. The alleged shooter and his father appeared in court yesterday, both facing murder charges related to the shooting. The Bexar County Sheriff's Office has arrested a man accused of starving a horse and a pony. 36-year-old Alfredo Farias Jr. faces charges of animal cruelty after deputies discovered the animals severely malnourished on his property. Deputies found the animals confined in a stall with empty buckets and visible bones. Farias admits to stealing the horse, but claimed to have purchased the pony, though he couldn't provide proof. He is now charged with cruelty to livestock animals, and that's a state felony. Well, police have arrested a man accused of hitting and killing a woman on the side of the highway. It happened just before 7 last night on 410 near New Valley High Drive. San Antonio police say the woman ran out of gas and pulled over on the side of the road. As she was getting out of her vehicle, officers say Juan Rabago hit her and killed her with his truck. The woman was pronounced dead at the scene. Officers say Rabago was intoxicated at the time. He's now being charged with intoxication manslaughter. The name of the woman has not been released. San Antonio police are investigating a crash that killed 2 people and injured 2 others. It happened around 2 this morning on Applewhite Road near South Zarzamora. According to SAPD, the driver of a white Escalade was speeding before hitting a concrete drainage ditch. The crash caused the SUV to roll over several times. Officers say the 2 people who died were ejected from the vehicle. The other 2 people were taken to the hospital in critical condition. Well, a man is in custody after police say he shot a 19-year-old in a gas station parking lot. It happened around 1 this morning at the Quick Trip on Fredericksburg Road, not far from Loop 410. Police say the suspect allegedly shot that victim after the two got into an argument over a parking spot. The victim was taken to the hospital, and at last check, he was in critical condition. Police arrested that suspect at a nearby apartment complex, but his name has not been released. He is, though, being charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. A statement from Quick Trip's corporate office about this says safety for their employees and customers is a top priority. Their statement also says they are working with SAPD during this investigation. As the fentanyl crisis grows, so does the effort to fight it. The Texas Department of State Health Services reports that fentanyl poisoning-related deaths have been trending upward for the last decade. The Night Team's Zaria Oates shares how a San Marcos organization is working to drop those numbers now.
This data from the Texas Department of State Health Services shows the increase of all drug poisoning deaths in orange and fentanyl-related deaths in blue, both increasing every year. That's why University of Texas Health's nonprofit called ICON is providing services for people dealing with substance use disorder. ICON is statewide, but based out of San Marcos, which doesn't have as many resources as bigger cities like San Antonio or Austin.
We have a lot of people who aren't necessarily taking fentanyl, but the substance that they are taking is laced with fentanyl.
Caitlin Rosales works with the Texas Integrated Community Opioid Network, and they provide Narcan to the community for free.
One of my tasks was to call around and see who even carries Narcan, at what cost, at what limitations, and there's a lot of barriers.
The price for Narcan is similar across different retail stores. It's about $45 for a 2-pack of single-dose sprays. The price is a barrier Caitlin says can prevent people from accessing the resources they need before it's too late.
Up until about 2 years ago, this was not available over the counter. So then when it was made available over the counter, it wasn't really easy to access unless you had that kind of money.
So ICON provides free Narcan at the Southside Community Center in San Marcos. The center's open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, but Texas ICON can assist with door drop-offs and deliveries, both for free, if you contact them ahead of time.
So being able to provide this for free weekly and safely, it's just, I can't even describe it. It's just amazing.
Zaria Oates, KSAT 12 News.
All right, in the meantime, let's head outside with live cam tonight. Clear skies in San Antonio, a temperature right around 80 degrees. We actually had a cool front push through south central Texas earlier today. One of the reasons why it was pretty gusty. We had wind gusts upwards of 30 miles per hour in several spots. We've also seen some drier air move in its wake, and that is really going to be noticeable by wake up time tomorrow. Take a look at dew points right now. They're down in the 50s. That's about 10 degrees lower than where we were this time last night. So it's already starting to feel a bit more comfortable out there. Through the overnight hours, temperatures are expected to fall as a result. 63 degrees expected by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. That will be the coolest morning that we've seen in San Antonio since May. High temperatures in the upper 80s, plenty of sunshine, low humidity. How long these cooler mornings and low humidity last? That's coming up in just a little bit, Court.
Thank you, Mia. And if you watch KSAT weekday mornings, you've probably noticed Live with Kelly and Mark has not been airing. That's because we're getting ready to move SA Live to a new time slot. Beginning Monday, SA Live will air at 10 a.m. right after GMSA at 9. And with SA Live moving to the mornings, that means you can now watch an all-new show, Judy Justice, weekdays at 1 p.m. Again, the change begins on Monday. Now to a cause close to KSAT. This year's Head for the Cure 5K is right around the corner. It'll be on September 28th at Providence Catholic School. You can register right now by scanning the QR code on your screen. It will take you directly to the website to register. Proceeds for Head for the Cure go to brain cancer research. For more information, just visit ksatcommunity.com.
Still
Still ahead on the Night Beat, what do you know about QR codes? They're everywhere these days, but turns out they're 30 years old. KSAT explains QR codes coming up in our next half hour. Plus, after a week of rain, Medina Lake is still nearly dry. After the break, how neighbors are banking on one fundraiser to keep their community center open. And after the break, Boeing's Starliner space capsule finally returned to Earth after 3 months. But the astronauts are still stuck on the International Space Station when they could finally return home. Next. Boeing's first crewed mission ended with the troubled Starliner capsule landing in the New Mexico desert while its 2 test pilots remained on the International Space Station. Those 2 astronauts were scheduled to be in space for 8 days, but as ABC's Zoreen Shaw reports, they've now been there for 80 days and will not be returning home until next year.
And there's the main parachutes there on your screen. We see 3 out.
Boeing's Starliner capsule landing in the New Mexico desert just after midnight, 6 hours after departing the International Space Station.
Touchdown. Starliner is back on Earth.
But the crew of the troubled spacecraft was not on board.
We have your backs, and you've got this. Bring her back to Earth. Good luck.
Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams were scheduled to return to Earth in June, just 8 days after launching. But back on June 6th, as Starliner approached the space station, NASA and Boeing identified helium leaks and issues with the spacecraft's thrusters. After weeks of testing, the decision was made to prioritize safety and return Starliner without its crew.
NASA has decided that Butch and Sonny will return with Crew 9 next February.
NASA says the Starliner encountered some problems during Friday's re-entry, but landed on target.
We'd have had a model that would have predicted what we saw tonight perfectly. Yeah, it looks like an easy decision to go say we could have had a crewed flight, but we didn't have that.
Boeing was not at Saturday morning's press conference, but released a statement saying, "We will review the data and determine the next steps for the program."
Boeing's already formed teams to look at the changes that need to be made for Starliner 1.
Now, the astronauts will hitch a ride with Boeing's competitor, SpaceX. Its crewed Dragon spacecraft lifting off in 2 weeks. That capsule scheduled to return in February. Zoreen Shah, ABC News, Los Angeles.
They are such troopers. 8 days.
Turning into several months, a long time into next year.
They're staying so positive. You see those interviews. I mean, it's a dream come true, but I mean, I would get some anxiety up there.
I would definitely, and I think about their family too. I mean, obviously, being related to or married to an astronaut, I feel like you kind of have to mentally prepare for that. Yeah. Just because it's so important to think about their safety on top of everything else. But still, that's a huge adjustment.
Yeah. Definite heroes. Thank you for being out there. If you see the San Antonio newscast.
Exactly.
We appreciate you.
We appreciate you. Well, Courtney, back on Earth, and more specifically, our little portion of Earth here in South Central Texas.
Fall.
We've got some changes headed in.
So excited.
Yes, we are so pumped. Very welcome to changes in the form of cooler morning temperatures starting by the time you wake up tomorrow morning. Low 60s expected here in San Antonio. That's about 10 degrees below the average for this time of year. That will carry over into Monday as well. Upper 60s by Tuesday as we start to see a little bit more moisture work back into the area, and then as a result, those low temperatures will climb back into the low 70s, so a bit more of a muggy feel by the second half of the upcoming week and closer to average. But tomorrow morning, while it is not going to be cold enough to break out the heavy winter coats just yet, especially up into the hill country, you may want the long sleep for a few hours first thing tomorrow. Check out these lows across the region. Again, this is by 7 a.m. Upper 50s will be possible across portions of the hill country near Kerrville, Fredericksburg, Rock Springs, right around 63 degrees here in the Alamo City, 61 out east in Gonzales, 67 off to our southwest in Cotulla. By the way, in case you were wondering, the last time that we officially had a morning low temperature in the 60s here in San Antonio, 99 days ago on May 31st, where our low temperature hit 65 over at SA International. So a little taste of fall is headed our direction by tomorrow morning. With the drier air in place, yes, it allows our low temperatures to cool down pretty efficiently through the overnight, but with plenty of sunshine, high temperatures are going to be able to rebound into the upper 80s. We're expecting a temperature around 80 degrees for any lunchtime plans around noon, 87 by about 4 to 5 p.m. It also will be a little breezy still, winds out of the northeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. A few more gusts upwards of 20 to 25 will certainly be a possibility as well. Mid to upper 80s for many areas, maybe a few low 80s off to our northwest and the higher elevations of the hill country. But here's the kicker. With that lower humidity, 87 is going to feel like a comfortable 87 to be the time frame where we monitor for a few isolated rain chances to return to the forecast. Right now, there's a disturbance just to the west of the Yucatan Peninsula over the Bay of Campeche. That actually now has a high chance of development into at least a tropical depression as it moves north through the western Gulf over the next several days. Here's the thing. If that happens, any impacts to San Antonio are looking very, very minimal. And if we were to see anything, it would likely just be rain. Early indications show that this system is going to stay well east of our region, more so just right up the Gulf coastline and then work its way into far east Texas and Louisiana. But still, it is very early with this system. So, of course, as always, we will continue to keep very close tabs on that in the coming days. Check back for updates. Right now, we just have a 20% potential in the forecast on Tuesday, bumping it up to a 30% chance on Wednesday, and then once again drying out as that system works off to the east throughout the second half of the week. Enjoy these cooler temperatures over the next few mornings, feeling absolutely fantastic and very fall-like. The afternoons, yes, still will be warm, but not too bad considering we don't have that heat index to worry about. Low temperatures back in the 70s, high still in the low 90s as we look ahead to next weekend, Courtney.
No one's allowed to complain about the weather.
Would agree.
No one
would agree.
All right, thank you. All right, there is an I-35 rivalry team, Mary, that is going to be complaining.
Yes, one of them. Unfortunately, it's the one closer to us. It was a lopsided bout between UTSA and Texas State today. We'll hear both sides and take a look at the highlights. Plus, the top two high school football teams in the area square off, Steele and Reagan, after the break. The I-35 rivalry game is back. The UTSA Roadrunners visiting Texas State with a perfect 5-0 record against the Bobcats all time. But a win now would have a whole new meaning in the new expanded college football playoff. Jordan McLeod, the JMU transfer, gets Texas State on the board first, a 17-yard rushing touchdown. And UTSA head coach Jeff Traylor dealing with a different beast this time. Later in the quarter, McLeod sprints up the middle for his second score on the ground, and G.J. Kinney loving what he's seeing. Well, McLeod can also sling it. Second quarter, a laser to Kriston Jr. He escapes not one, not two, but 3 tackles for a straight shot to the house. Both UTSA QBs played in this game, but no one had an answer for Texas State's formidable attack. Texas State 49, UTSA 10.
A lot of decisions went into tonight. It wasn't just what you saw out there. These coaches have been grinding on UTSA for a really long time, and really every recruiting move we made, every personnel decision we made was, hey, does this allow us to beat UTSA? I mean, it was a big game for us, and does this allow us to win a conference championship? And I think you'll see UTSA go out and have a really good year. That's a really good ball club.
My number one, emphasis this whole week was, be the hammer, not the nail, and punch him in the mouth early. And I think we did a good job of that up front. Did an amazing job today.
Okay, now let's send it to Nick Mantis, who is in San Marcos. Nick, how would you describe the loss?
Ugly, Mary. Just downright ugly. That's the one word I would use to describe this game tonight. And Coach Traylor fully understands the frustrations of Roadrunner fans after this one.
I don't blame one person for having zero lick of faith in the Roadrunners right now. I do not. I think we'll weather the storm like we've done many times before. We didn't tackle them very well. You could tell they're veterans. They look very veteran, and we look very inexperienced.
I have that 24-hour rule. It does suck to lose to a rivalry, and it is what it is, but you only have 24 hours to let that one go and watch the film and see what we did good, see what we did bad, and go from there.
Well, that 24-hour rule is going to be crucial this weekend, Mary, as they're going to need to figure things out and do so quickly. Because if you thought this was bad, it can only get worse next week up in Austin when they take on the third-ranked Texas Longhorns. From San Marcos, Nick Mantis. Mary, back to you.
Thank you, Nick. The Big House is a hostile environment, but Quinn Ewers and the third-ranked Texas Longhorns are up for the task against the defending national champion Michigan Wolverines. First quarter, Texas moving the ball with ease as Ewers escapes the pressure to find senior tight end Gunnar Helm in the end zone for 6. UT doing whatever they want against 10th-ranked Michigan. And if you were worried about the Longhorns losing 2 running backs to season-ending injuries in the preseason, Jaden Blue says don't be. Ewers threw 3 touchdown passes for 246 yards, while the defense had 3 takeaways and UT's 31-12 win to improve to 2-0. Texas A&M hosting McNeese State this morning, looking to bounce back against a lesser opponent from their Week 1 loss to Notre Dame, who, by the way, was upset by NIU today. The Aggies scored touchdowns on their first 5 possessions to race out to a 35-0 advantage. A&M sophomore QB Connor Wigman threw 2 touchdown passes, and Le'Veon Moss added 2 more on the ground en route to a 52-10 triumph to move to 1-1. All right, more scores around college football. Big 12 action. Baylor falls to Utah 23-12. Houston comes up short to OU 16-12. Texas State in action right now, trailing Washington State in the first half. UIW now left it all out there against the reigning FCS champs. 45-24. SDSU wins, and TLU tops Trinity 35-20. All right, high school action now. The top 2 teams in 12's top 12 rankings squaring off, Steele and Reagan. Reagan's Jack Bingham finds pay dirt in the second quarter, trailing Steele 21-14 after that one. Soon after, Steele's Chad Warner hits SMU commit Jalen Cooper on the outside. Cooper does the rest for the 64-yard TD. Nobody's stopping him. Later, Oklahoma commit Jonathan Hatton goes up the middle and takes it from their 26-yard out to the house. It was an electric game, and in the end, Steele 62-35, the victory. All right, other scores in our BGC coverage. Holmes edged out MacArthur 49-42. Clark defeated Stevens 28-21. John Jay with the shutout victory 48-0. And Hennis takes down John Paul II 32-7. All right, later in the show, we're talking NFL. Exciting
Football's
time.
keeping you busy, isn't it?
Yes.
Love to see it. All right, thanks, Mary. We'll be right back. All right, what do you know about QR codes? They're just about everywhere these days, and we sure talk about them a lot. So we felt that deserved a KSAT Explains.
I don't know how many times I say, scan this QR code. Scan that QR code right there on your screen. You see that QR code in the corner of the screen, just scan that. Scan that QR code right there in the corner. Just scan this QR code on your screen. Scan this QR code. But it's a lot. What are they?
Well, I think a lot of people think they're similar to barcodes, which they are.
Like a QR code, a barcode contains information, usually letters and numbers, like for a product in a store. A barcode could show the price, the inventory info, but a QR code
contains more data than a barcode can contain, and inside that data you can put all kinds of pieces of information.
Chris Wall is Chief Technology Officer for Critical Fault, an offensive cybersecurity company here in San Antonio. Rocky Slavin is an assistant professor of computer science at UTSA. Both know way more about technology than I do.
Where did QR codes come from?
Japan, actually Toyota.
In their factories. They used them as just a quick way to, sense, what was moving through the factory.
You could put actual words and links and all kinds of things inside this little code, and you could print these things out and put them wherever you wanted.
So what does the QR stand for?
Quick response.
Makes sense because we're looking for a quick response when we use the cameras on our phone to scan one. You scan it and a link appears. You click it and you're on your way to that URL.
Exactly. One way I like to think about QR codes is they're just like links, except kind of in the physical world.
Most often, that's what a QR code contains, a link. Think about KSAT.com. That web address is easy to remember. But if you're looking for the link to a specific story, like KSAT.com/news/local/2024/5/ what was I saying again?
It encodes some information that's not easy to remember, but puts it into a small package that's easy for our phones or whatever to interpret and then take that information and do something with it, like go to a website.
As long as the link stays the same, the QR code will take you to the most up-to-date version of whatever is on that page. There are apps you can use to create or generate QR codes, which usually have 3 big squares within the larger square. And since QR codes are
links, except kind of in the physical world,
they have redundancies in them in case they get damaged.
The rest of the data can actually be used in that QR code to generate what was missing, which is really neat. Barcodes can't do that.
The link that pops up when you scan a QR code is small and usually abbreviated. It doesn't tell you much.
Unfortunately.
So is there a risk there?
Yes.
What is it?
So, not to sound as an alarmist, most QR codes can be trusted, but there's a small underbelly of people who will create fake QR codes.
And some QR codes take you to sites asking for your credit card info. Think about scanning a QR code to pay to park.
It is remarkably simple for me or people in my industry to create our own QR code that sends you somewhere else and to create a cloned website that looks exactly like the other website, and then we can steal your credentials.
What about a virus in one of these links? If you're not actually entering credit card information, is there a risk with just tapping the link to begin with?
So the answer is yes, but there's a big caveat. So if you're using an up-to-date device, an up-to-date iPhone, an up-to-date Android phone where you do your updates, the risk is really low. Most of our phones have built-in protections that prevents most of those attacks.
Treat QR codes very much like we would treat arbitrary links that we see out on the internet. Click on them only if we trust them.
All right, here we go. Scan this QR code to check out all of our Explains coverage. Don't worry, it's a good one. You can watch this story or any other KSAT Explains on demand. You can also find them on YouTube and the KSAT Plus app. Coming up, how neighbors in a Medina Lake community are banking on one fundraiser to keep their community center open. We'll be back. Even though there was a week of heavy rain, Medina Lake levels are still very low. Right now, the man-made reservoir is just over 3% full. Some say these dry conditions have caused fewer people to come into town. But as Avery Everett shows us, neighbors say they're still connected and working to keep their community center up and running.
It's all worth it.
Hand packaged and handled with care.
Oh, yes.
The Lake Hills Community Center is hard at work getting ready for its biggest fundraiser yet.
We'll be real busy back here in the kitchen.
This team is just weeks out from the Medina Lake Cajun Festival.
This is our crawfish pies, meat pies, all of this.
And this year, getting the community together means a whole lot more.
Without the Cajun Festival, we wouldn't be.
We have to keep this going.
Record low water levels at Medina Lake this summer meant less people coming in to visit.
It goes up, it goes down.
Recent rain has brought some relief, but this center says the Cajun Festival is its main source of funding.
Oh, yeah.
To keep the lights on and people coming in.
What does a place like this mean to you?
Everything. Here brings everybody together.
As preparations wrap up, the people of Lake Hills are looking to the future.
I mean, it's hard work, but it's fun.
Serving the community and surviving yet another summer. Avery Everett, KSAT 12 News.
Difficult to see that community. They've been through so much with the tourism issues, but they're still So positive.
They're so resilient.
Yeah,
and they're just going to keep working as hard as they can for a positive outcome. And I love that so much. Avery is exactly right. Our area lakes, rivers, and reservoirs definitely still feeling the effects of this long-term drought, even despite a good chunk of the area seeing some decent rain over the past week or so. Again, Medina Lake 3.3% full, almost 90 feet below the conservation pool. 55.9% full is Canyon Lake, Choke Canyon at 19.8% full. Lake Amistad out there in Valverde County just at 26.3% full. That's about 66 feet below the conservation pool out there. All right, switching gears just a little bit. If you're out and about early tomorrow morning, clear skies in place, you could catch the International Space Station flying overhead. Visibility is going to last for about 6 minutes, starting at 6:15 a.m., lasting through 6:21 tomorrow morning. It's going to appear 14 degrees above the northwestern horizon and disappear about 10 degrees above the southeastern horizon. If you do happen to catch any photos or videos, be sure to upload those to KSAT Connect. It was breezy out there today. We're going to talk about peak wind gusts and also those cooler temperatures by tomorrow morning coming up.
So I know we've been talking about wind with this front coming through. I was driving earlier today and I could feel it.
Yes, it was certainly very breezy out there. Yesterday it was breezy. Today maybe a little bit more gusty is how I should phrase that. We had wind gusts generally upwards of 30 miles per hour in many locations. Take a look at peak wind gusts across the area today. In a few spots it was actually even stronger than that. 38 mile per hour peak wind gust over there in New Braunfels, 32 in Seguin, 33 right here in San Antonio, 24 just off to our northwest in Bernie. Now, as we take a look at wind gusts right now, it is still a little breezy out there, not nearly as bad as what we were seeing out there earlier this afternoon, but still a few wind gusts even here in Bexar County, upwards of 20 to 25 miles per hour. I think we could hold on to that as we sleep through the overnight, but looking ahead to tomorrow for our Sunday, while winds will still be sustained at about 10 to 15, gusts are not going to be nearly as high, really upwards of about 20 to 25. But what those winds have been doing for us today in the wake of a cool front that's pushed through, it's allowed some cooler and drier air to move in. And where you're really going to notice that first thing tomorrow morning and even into Monday, low temperatures back down in the low 60s here in San Antonio, but still with plenty of sunshine. Afternoons will trend warm in the upper 80s and close to 90, especially by Monday. That drier air, the low humidity, that's going to continue through Tuesday. Then into the middle of the week, we'll start to introduce more of that moisture back into the forecast. And that's also when we could find a few isolated rain chances as well. So let's talk all about it. Once again, starting off with this drier air in place. Dew points down by about 10 degrees compared to 24 hours ago. So it's already starting to feel a little bit more comfortable out there. Notice by tomorrow morning, we could see those dew points fall into the 40s to kickstart our Sunday. That will continue Sunday into Monday, even into the start of Tuesday, which is why those low temperatures are cooler than average. A little taste of fall on the horizon. But notice by Tuesday evening, as we start to see those winds shift back in from the southeast, that essentially opens the door for more of this Gulf moisture to push back into south central Texas. Overnight lows will start to come up as a result, and you'll notice a little bit more of that humid feel stepping out the door, especially by Wednesday. But until then, check out these temperatures by 7 a.m. tomorrow. Again, we could see those lows bottom out in the upper 50s across portions of the hill country, 63 in Pleasanton as well as Uvalde, 68 your forecast morning low temperature tomorrow over there in Del Rio. We will see plenty of sunshine once the sun comes up tomorrow. Plenty of it in store throughout the day. Again, 80 degrees for any lunchtime plans at noon. There's that high temperature right around 87 officially. A few degrees warmer into Monday, but other than that, copy and paste. Low 60s transitioning to about 90 degrees Monday afternoon. Low humidity means that it will feel like 89 and not the mid to upper 90s, so that's also an added benefit. But by Tuesday and into Wednesday, that's when we're going to start to see more of that moisture return and a few isolated rain chances return to the forecast. A lot of that will be dependent on if we can tap into any moisture associated with this tropical disturbance that's going to be pushing northward forward through the western Gulf. As of right now, the National Hurricane Center giving it a high chance of development into a tropical depression. But I do want to reiterate, even if that happens, we are expecting very minimal impacts here in south central Texas. This is going to ride along the Gulf Coast. Early indications are that it is going to stay east of the Alamo City, but still it is early. Sometimes these systems can be a little erratic from time to time, so that's something that we will continue to keep you posted on in the days ahead. Definitely check back in. For now, though, it is just isolated chances for rain Tuesday and Wednesday, drying things out throughout the second half of the week and into next weekend. Partly cloudy skies and highs closer to average back in the low 90s.
That temperature screen was green.
Isn't it nice?
Makes me so happy.
Tomorrow morning is gonna be a coffee on the front porch kind of morning.
Ready.
So
We're ready.
It's good stuff.
All right, let's go to Mary. A lot of people are excited tomorrow for the sports as well, because we're going to get to see what decisions the Cowboys have made.
Yes, it's the first NFL Sunday of 2024. Super exciting. It'll soon all be settled on the field. The Cowboys open their season in Cleveland. Larry Ramirez reports from the stadium coming up, and the Texans will take on the Colts in Indianapolis, looking to survive the unknowns. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Well, as we talked about earlier in the show, it was a great day of college and high school football. But now let's turn our attention to tomorrow, which will be the first NFL Sunday of the 2024 season. Exciting times. Sports director Larry Ramirez is out in Cleveland for the Cowboys opener at the Browns, and he has his eye on one matchup in particular.
It's cloudy and 60 degrees here in Cleveland, Ohio today, Mary. To me, this is perfect football weather. All right, the Browns will host the Cowboys tomorrow afternoon, and there are several matchups that we can watch, but the one I'm really focused on is Cowboys rookie left tackle Tyler Guyton. How will he do against Browns defensive end Myles Garrett, the reigning NFL Defensive Player of the Year? It will not be easy, that's for sure. Can he protect Dak's blind side? We'll have more tomorrow night, a live report and instant replay, and of course, KSAT.com. Mary, back to you.
Part of it is setting the tone, but it's also about how you finish, right? And that's the most important thing. Like everybody says you want to jump out to a fast start, right? That is important. We want to jump out to a fast start, but what I'm harping on with our guys is all about how we finish, right? That's how you win these games, right? He may throw some things at us we haven't seen, right? Same thing for them. There was a lot of unknowns, right, in the first game. So it's just about surviving those unknowns and then being able to finish in the fourth quarter.
C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans will face Anthony Richardson and the Colts in their season opener tomorrow. Kickoff is at noon at Lucas Oil Stadium. We'll have the highlights on instant replay. Now we have two USL Championship teams who are struggling this year, SAFC and Monterey Bay FC. Tonight, SAFC comes out on top 1-0 over Monterey Bay. Nice win for SAFC.
Yeah, we needed that. Good job. All right, thank you so much, Mary, and we'll be right back.